In Las Vegas, fortunes are won and lost through games of chance. But some try to beat the odds with violence. A ruthless band of vicious thugs strikes several casinos, taking thousands of dollars, leaving a bloody trail in their wake. Local police and the FBI team up to identify and track down the deadly gunman, who will stop at nothing to avoid capture.
The kind of story that Hollywood films are made of. Brazen armed robberies of Las Vegas casinos. But this was no movie. I'm Jim Kallstrom, former head of the FBI's New York office. They were a gang of criminal masterminds. They carried automatic weapons and were not afraid to use them. With each and every new heist, they became bolder and more deadly, until the FBI stepped in, determined to end their violent rampage.
Las Vegas, Nevada, September 20th, 1998. It is shortly before noon at the MGM Grand Hotel and Casino. Two armed couriers, escorted by an MGM security guard, transport the casino's money toward an exit where an armored truck awaits. Suddenly, two gunmen confront them. One grabs the courier's guns, then snatches 3 money pouches containing nearly $350,000 in cash. Then the men flee through a side exit. The guards call the Las Vegas police and the FBI. Detectives and agents respond to the casino and interview the guards, who give investigators a rough description of their assailants.
Any kind of logo on the jacket?
Not that I saw.
Okay.
It was two Latinos. I'm pretty sure it was Latinos.
What kind of guns were they?
They were not
The robbers left no physical evidence at the scene.
Right.
Two semi-automatic weapons.
Right.
They were standing like right here.
The MGM, like all Las Vegas casinos, has a vast network of security cameras. FBI agents review video of the crime.
Outside tape, please.
Sorry.
Special Agent Henry Schlump observes the way the lead gunman brandished his weapons, which suggests he could be a dangerous individual.
Seeing a subject commit a robbery with a gun in each hand is not typical. That would be a rare occurrence. And I think it would portend the violence that the subject was capable of.
We got two-fisted gunslinger. Okay, can you give me the outside tape? They go directly out to the sidewalk and down the street.
Agents also watch footage captured by the hotel's exterior cameras, which reveals that the robbers fled across the street toward a neighboring hotel. Investigators go to the Hotel San Remo and review surveillance video from their exterior cameras. They see the robbers get into a pickup truck driven by a third man.
Stop.
But the video cannot provide a viable lead, according to FBI Special Agent Castle Nishimoto.
The quality of the film wasn't as such that we could make out exactly the numbers on the plates. We had a few partials on the numbers, but we couldn't see the whole plate. We could only read the first 3 numbers, but we couldn't get the 3 alphabet letters after that.
Despite having only a general description, police begin searching for the getaway truck. However, they are unable to immediately find it. Nearly 2 months later, continued search efforts lead to a break in the case. Once again at the San Remo. In the casino's parking lot, a Las Vegas Metro Police detective locates what looks like the getaway truck. The truck's plate numbers match the partial numbers seen on the surveillance tape. To investigators, it seems the robbers waited for the heat to die down after the robbery, then drove the getaway truck back to the San Remo. The detective runs a check on the vehicle's identification number and discovers it was reported stolen almost 3 weeks before the MGM robbery. Running a check on the license plate, investigators find it was stolen from a disabled car kept at a Las Vegas storage area.
Can I help you?
Yes, sir. Investigator Fleetwood. We're looking into some thefts that occurred.
The manager of the facility tells the Las Vegas Metro Police detective he knows nothing about the theft. He suggests he speak to the watchman who lives at the storage area, Jose Vigoa.
There he is, right there.
The manager points out Vigoa in the distance. The detective asks the manager to have the watchman contact him, but Vigoa never calls. Months pass, and the investigation runs out of leads. June 28, 1999, 9 months after the MGM robbery. At the Desert Inn Casino, an armored van is making its rounds collecting cash. Two gunmen confront the guards. The guard inside the van is hit in the arm. His partner returns fire, but is hit 3 times in the leg. Through their training, the guards know to aim for the chest. Their bullets slam into the gunman, but the shots fail to stop them. They must be wearing body armor. The guard on the ground manages to get to the safety of the armored vehicle. The van's driver heads to a nearby hospital. Both guards survive the gun battle. Within minutes, Las Vegas police and the FBI converge at the Desert Inn. A casino employee tells investigators she saw the gunman flee the scene in a light-colored SUV, and police put out an alert. FBI Special Agent Richard Beasley studies the crime scene.
My initial impression was that it was a very bold attempt to take an armored car. These guys weren't afraid to use the firepower that they had with them. There was a number of brass casings in one area and a number of brass casings in the other area where the armored car guards had shot their rounds.
Agents believe that the gunmen who committed this attack were not the same ones who held up the MGM. The MO was not the same. In the investigators' experience, criminals rarely change their MO if it has worked in the past. FBI Special Agent Brett Shields.
They were successful at MGM indoors, waiting for the guards indoor. The Desert Inn is outdoors, like they're trying to get the whole truck.
10 minutes after arriving at the scene, Agent Beasley gets a call that the getaway car has been found.
I'll be right there.
One of the uniform officers had been patrolling the area looking for this vehicle, and they found it in the parking lot of a small motel. We looked inside, and we could see shell casings on the floor, and there was a .45 caliber shell casing on one of the running boards.
investigators also find an empty water bottle inside the vehicle. It is preserved in the hopes of recovering DNA evidence from it. Nearby, agents interview a man who says he saw the men who were driving the SUV.
There was a witness there that had been walking his dog that had witnessed the exchange of the vehicle. One robber goes to the back of a pickup truck, simply throw a bag in the back, made a loud noise, what we think is the guns. The other two jump into the front of this pickup truck.
Let's go, man. Let's go. What's the matter? The key. The key doesn't work, man.
Go back. They were having difficulties actually getting the vehicle started.
The witness then saw the two men frantically working on the steering column.
What do you mean the key doesn't work? Well, then figure it out. Come on, how wire something?
He didn't know whether they were messing with it to hotwire it or what.
Finally, the pickup roared to life and the men took off. Agents wonder why the robbers had to hotwire their own getaway vehicle. Presumably, they had placed the truck there ahead of time. So why didn't they have the keys?
That was strange to us. We couldn't understand why that would have taken place.
Then agents notice a pickup of the same make and model parked nearby.
We thought maybe because there were two vehicles that were very similar, parked close together, they had jumped into the other vehicle, and of course their keys don't work, so they had to hotwire it.
Agent Slump and I go back to the rear of this second pickup truck, and we notice that there's a license plate rubber banded over another license plate.
I think that's an interesting thing.
This one piece will make 52 layers.
Watch on mobile devices or the big screen. All for free. No subscription required.
The FBI runs the vehicle identification number on the pickup and discovers that it belongs to an ex-con named Pedro Duarte. The crime scene investigator finds fingerprints on the top license plate. Investigators run the prints and discover they belong to Duarte. This suggests that Duarte rubber-banded the stolen plate to his own pickup. At the request of FBI agents, the witness agrees to describe the three men he saw to a police artist. Investigators hope that composite sketches will aid in identifying suspects. The next day, investigators travel to Pedro Duarte's house to ask him about his truck.
So I had the composite with me, and when we go to knock on the door and Pedro Duarte comes to the door, it's like, holy cow.
Duarte bears a close resemblance to the man in the sketch.
Mind if we come in and talk to you for a moment? Sure.
When asked about his truck, Duarte insists that it was stolen. Police records show that it was in fact reported stolen, but that was hours after the attempted robbery at the Desert Inn.
His story was that he and his wife had had personal problems, and so he went down just to walk the strip. So he had parked his vehicle and was just walking up and down the strip, and that he had fallen asleep on a bench.
Duarte claims that when he woke up, his truck was gone.
You know, just nonsense. None of his story was true. He's just cocky as cocky can be, and his English was fine until we started getting to the harder questions, and then no habla.
Duarte suddenly claims he cannot speak English.
The Metro Sergeant was even talking to him in Spanish. And he still claimed that he couldn't understand. It was a very frustrating interview.
Discrimination.
Investigators are convinced Duarte is involved, but are stymied by a lack of direct evidence against him.
We still didn't have any answers. I mean, was he up to no good on the strip? Absolutely. Could he have been doing jewelry robberies or purse snatchings or anything else and try to disguise his vehicle and this just be coincidental? Absolutely.
Man, I don't know what you're even talking about, man.
So we weren't comfortable enough to arrest him at the time. And we got nowhere with the interview.
Hoping to get a positive identification on Duarte, Agent Shields shows a photo lineup to the only witness who has seen the faces of the Desert Inn robbers.
I can't tell.
And our witness did not pick him out of a photo lineup. So we had to go back to other means, trying to identify his associates, his money trail. Just kind of a full blitz on Duarte at that point.
In an effort to gather any incriminating evidence against their suspect, investigators set up surveillance on Duarte. But after weeks of watching, they come up with nothing. The Mandalay Bay Casino, October 11th, 1999, 4 months after the attempted robbery at the Desert Inn. 2 armed couriers pick up $88,000 and transport it to their armored truck. Suddenly, 2 gunmen ambush them. In the fall of 1998, 2 gunmen execute a brazen robbery inside Las Vegas's MGM Grand Casino, taking almost $350,000. Now, a year later, couriers collecting money at the Mandalay Bay Casino are under attack. The robbers quickly disarm them and flee with $88,000 in cash.
Let's go, let's go.
At the FBI's Las Vegas field office, agents review the surveillance video of the robbery. Special Agent Brett Shields suspects that the gunman who robbed the MGM committed this robbery as well.
When we saw the manner of how this robbery had taken place at Mandalay Bay, there was a lot of similarities. The way the approach was made, the way the weapons were held, weapons in both hands, arms extended, and it did trigger some thoughts that the MGM and the Mandalay Bay are connected.
I've been working on this for a long time.
Investigators pore over the case, searching for any clue that might have been missed. Special Agent Richard Beasley.
Brett Shields and I were in the office. We were talking about the case, what we could do to develop additional leads, make sure all the leads that we had been covered.
And I'm looking over his shoulder and I recognize the name on there.
Vigoa is the watchman at the storage facility that detectives never got to interview.
And at that time, it kind of lights went off for me that I told Agent Beasley, hey, if this is actually Jose Vigoa, then, you know, that's our guy.
Jose Vigoa. Who's that?
Agent Shields has a history with Vigoa.
I had arrested Jose Vigoa in 1990. That was one of the first arrests that I had made as an FBI agent.
In 1990, the FBI was investigating Cuban immigrant Jose Vigoa for cocaine trafficking and went to a storage facility with a warrant to search his unit.
As they're entering to go do the search, Jose Vigoa speeds away. An agent is standing in front of the gate and he actually tries to run him over. That's his personality, you know, that's just the type of person that he is, that he's not going to be taken by the police without a fight. no respect for life or anybody but himself.
Investigators checked Vigoa's storage unit and found a scale covered with cocaine residue and his fingerprints. He was later convicted of drug trafficking and assaulting a federal officer. He served 6 years in prison for his crimes. Shields remembers that Pedro Duarte was questioned in connection to the recent Desert Inn shootings. Duarte is Jose Vigoa's brother-in-law. To investigators, it now seems that the 2 robberies inside the casinos are connected to the attack outside the Desert Inn. They all appear to be the work of one group of robbers. Agents decide to show Vigoa's probation officer the casino surveillance video to see if she can identify any of the robbers. The next day at the FBI office, Vigoa's probation officer watches surveillance tapes of both the MGM and Mandalay Bay robberies. She says one of the gunmen resembles Vigoa, but can't make a positive ID. Disappointed but undeterred, agents put Vigoa under surveillance. According to his probation officer, Vigoa earns only $10,000 a year and lives in a shack at the storage facility where he works. But Agent Beasley discovers that Vigoa actually lives in a middle-class house.
We did financial background checks, and the house was in fact purchased just a few weeks after the MGM robbery. It was interesting to us because about $19,000 in cash had been put down on this house. The house was not purchased in Vigoa's name. It was purchased in the name of a person named Oscar Cisneros.
Agents suspect Vigoa is using Cisneros as a financial front to hide his purchases.
We knew after talking to Vigoa's probation officer that Vigoa was supposed to be working a labor-type job. He wasn't supposed to have much money. So if assets started showing up in Vigoa's name, that would certainly raise suspicion to his probation officer.
Vigoa's finances are questionable, but they are not an indication of guilt.
We didn't have any eyewitness identification of him in these robberies, and just because somebody's spending a large amount of cash doesn't necessarily mean that they were involved in a robbery. If Vigoa was a convicted drug dealer, we didn't know if he was back in the drug trade, which would account for him having a large amount of cash.
The results of the financial background check are not enough to move the investigation forward.
We didn't have probable cause yet for any kind of warrant to go search Vigoa's house or his property or his vehicles. It just wasn't there yet. Even if we had even the minimal for a search warrant, we may not be ready to actually do it yet. We want to develop additional so we have enough to make the arrest and get a conviction, not just get enough for a search warrant for the house.
Agents continue to watch Vigoa. Five months later, on March 3rd, 2000, in the neighboring suburb of Henderson, local police and the FBI respond to a report of an assault on an armored vehicle in front of the Ross Dress for Less department store. 2 guards are dead.
When we arrived, there was police tape up. There was cars all over the place. Witnesses were scattered, and there was the body of one of the security officers in the parking lot next to the truck. It was not a good scene.
Investigators worked to determine the series of events that led to the 2 deaths.
We started interviewing people in the parking lot, people in the surrounding businesses. A lot of people had heard the shots. Some people had seen the shots. Some people had seen the vehicle driving away. Everybody had a small piece to the puzzle that we were trying to put together.
According to witnesses, around 11:15 a.m., an armored van parked in front of the department store. One guard went inside to pick up the store's deposits, passing between two minivans which witnesses reported seeing parked there since early that morning. When the guard returned with the money, the gunman pounced. The courier drew his weapon and fired, hitting one gunman in the knee. But another gunman opened fire with an assault rifle. The guard died almost instantly. The gunman's fury was then leveled on the van's driver. The lead gunman grabbed the money bags. All three men made their escape in what witnesses described as a beige sedan. Their total take was less than $5,000.
The amount of violence used in that crime was just incredible. The number of rounds that were fired and the brutal cold-bloodedness that these security officers were killed was just uncalled for.
The details of the attack lead agents to believe this robbery was perpetrated by the same group they are currently investigating.
The lying in wait, the attempt on the armored car, the high-power weapons, the shots fired, it all matched with the Desert Inn attempt.
A crime scene technician processes the minivans used by the robbers, but he is unable to recover any evidence that could help identify them. As investigators continue working into the early evening, they experience a moment of unexpected and chilling sadness.
When it's getting around 5 o'clock, cell phone starts ringing on the dead guard, and it was just a feeling of emptiness that it's kind of every cop's nightmare, you know, that you're not coming home that particular night, and then your wife or your significant other is calling, wanting to know where you're at and why you're not home. The phone kept ringing, and everybody wanted to pick up that phone and talk on the other end. It was just a bad feeling.
Investigators at the scene decide to join forces to track down the killers.
We formed kind of an ad hoc task force within the FBI, Henderson Police Department, and Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department, in order to identify the group of individuals who were doing these crimes. Everybody's goal was the same, to try to catch these guys.
But without any evidence implicating their suspects, they will need to move quickly if they are to capture them before they strike again. In Henderson, Nevada, a group of heavily armed robbers continue their violent rampage with an assault on an armored van, killing 2 guards in a hail of gunfire. A few hours after the attack, police locate the robbers' abandoned getaway car in a parking lot. FBI Special Agent Henry Schlumpf investigates.
We got there, we could see there was blood in the driver's seat of the vehicle.
Witnesses to the robbery had reported that one of the gunmen had been shot. A crime scene technician collects the blood as it may become valuable later as DNA evidence. Agents run the plates on the getaway car and the vans left by the killers at the scene of the robbery and find that they were all stolen from a rental car lot. The task force is unable to definitively identify suspects in the robbery, but they are confident it is connected to a string of similar heists over the past 18 months. Those crimes have been tied circumstantially to ex-cons Jose Vigoa and Pedro Duarte, Vigoa's brother-in-law. But without any hard evidence implicating the pair, the investigation stalls. June 3rd, 2000, 3 months after the Ross killings, the Bellagio Hotel and Casino. It's shortly after 6 a.m. Casino employees are counting money in the main cashier's cage. Gunmen force frightened employees into a corner and then clean out the money drawers.
Don't move.
The robbers take over $144,000 in cash. But the gunmen are not finished. They want more. They target a nearby change booth. This time, the robbers allow the cashier to leave. They steal an additional $10,000. The security guard notices the fleeing cashier on a surveillance camera and zooms in for a closer look. The guard alerts outside security as he watches the robbers flee the building through an emergency exit.
There they are.
The robbers jump into their getaway van and speed off with more than $150,000. They're unaware that Bellagio guards in an unmarked van are following them and alerting police. However, once the robbers realize they're being followed, they react with violence. One bullet strikes the security van's tire, ending the pursuit. Fortunately, none of the guards are injured. They provide police with the make, model, and license plate number for the vehicle. When FBI Special Agent Brett Shields hears the details of the heist and the robbers' violent escape, he is convinced it is connected to their suspects.
And it shows the mentality of these guys that they weren't going to get taken. They were going to shoot it out, they were going to run, they were going to do everything they could to get away.
At the Bellagio's security office, agents ask Jose Vigoa's probation officer to watch surveillance video of the crime, hoping for a positive ID.
We showed the video, and she said, yeah, that was Jose Vigoa doing that robbery.
Sure.
I'd swear to it in court.
This is the break agents need to bring in Vigoa. They obtain an arrest warrant, but they worry that this ruthless killer will not be taken down without a fight. In Las Vegas, the FBI has finally identified ex-con Jose Vigoa as the suspected leader of a violent band of robbers who has already killed 2 people. Agents obtain an arrest warrant for Vigoa and move to apprehend him. FBI Special Agent Brett Shields.
They had a vehicle in front. The Metro SWAT team was going to pull up, exit the vehicle, and take him down at gunpoint. The SWAT officers got out and aimed their weapons at him. I pulled around the SWAT vehicle. He and we're side by side, and I'm actually showing him my credentials, and he's acting like, who are we? And the vehicle in front of him wasn't close enough to his vehicle, so he was able simply to pull out and to proceed.
Chase is extremely dangerous, reaching speeds in excess of 100 miles per hour. The suspect refuses to slow even for a second. After a few miles, Vigoa loses control of his vehicle and hits a tree.
He exits the vehicle and flees. He's gone. He's jumping over fences. He's going.
Las Vegas SWAT officers chase after Vigoa while Agent Shields inspects the wrecked vehicle. To his surprise, he finds Vigoa's wife in the passenger seat. She's taken into custody, but is later released when investigators determine she was not involved in her husband's crimes. In the back seat, Agent Shields finds Vigoa's daughter.
His wife is in the vehicle along with his little girl. Total disregard for them. Doesn't care that he's leaving them to face the police and all the weapons that's going to be drawn on them. He's taking care of himself.
SWAT officers finally catch up to Vigoa and take him down.
I arrive right as he's getting picked up. He's just arrogant. You can't touch me. I'm the man. So I said, well, we can touch you, and basically told him this. It ends here. I mean, he's not going to see the light of day again.
To ensure a conviction, agents need more proof.
Police, open up! It's the police, open the door!
Armed with a search warrant, they enter Vigoa's house and find nearly $100,000 in cash, but no evidence directly connecting him to any of the robberies. With Vigoa in custody, FBI Special Agent Richard Beasley moves in on Oscar Cisneros, Vigoa's financial frontman.
We needed to talk with Cisneros about the assets that were in his name being used by Vigoa. We identified ourselves and told him that Jose Vigoa had just been arrested for the Bellagio robbery and that we needed to talk with him about his relationship with Vigoa and these robberies that have been happening in Las Vegas. I told him that we also wanted to search his house, and Oscar said, that's fine, I'll talk with you and you can search my house.
Good, thanks.
So right there on the hood of my car, he executed a consent to search form, which gave us his permission to search his house.
Yeah, you can go ahead and come on in.
Investigators search while Agent Beasley and a Henderson detective question Cisneros.
Appreciate you bringing us in here. I wanted to ask you about this house and this guy.
Look, I've known him for a long
We
time.
talked with Oscar about his relationship with Vigoa, about the assets that had been put in Cisneros' name on behalf of Vigoa, and where the money had come from in order to purchase those assets. Cisneros told us that he was just doing a friend a favor. It wasn't his money, but he wanted to help his friend out. We asked him if he had any contact with Vigoa in the last several weeks. He said, yeah, Vigoa brought over some money a few days ago. He didn't know where the money was from, didn't know how much it was, and it was kind of in repayment for him being a good friend to put these assets in his name.
Agent Beasley pressures him, but Cisneros says he knows nothing about any crimes.
Again, he was very calm, collected. He claimed not to know anything about anything. He was just trying to work hard and pay his bills and support his family and just live a normal life.
In the bedroom, investigators find a box full of cash. Suspicious, but not incriminating.
A lot of hundreds, 50s, 5s, 10s.
So, where did you get this from?
After searching for an hour with no results, an investigator on a hunch decides to search for any hidden compartments.
I've got something here.
And uncovers a motherlode of evidence.
Ammunition, body armor.
Agent Beasley talks with the searchers.
And they said, Rich, we found it. We found a secret compartment in his closet. Appears to have everything in it that's going to be what we've been looking for.
The agent needs to know if the items in the closet were used in the robberies.
So I immediately went back where Oscar was sitting. I said, Oscar, we found it. We found your closet. What's going to be in there? He kind of sighed. He looked down. He said, the guns, everything. So at that point, I knew that he was going to be more of a player than what I thought he possibly could have been.
The agent asks him about a scar on his knee.
So tell me.
And I could see the inside of his right knee, and there was like a puncture wound.
I got shot.
Shot? Where?
At Ross.
We were just ecstatic. We identified one of the people who had been shot at the Ross, and we were well on our way to solving that killing.
All right. How much time am I looking at?
He started asking us what kind of penalty he was looking at, what kind of prison time. And we were very honest with him. We told him, you know, we couldn't tell exactly for sure what he was looking at, but it could very well be the death penalty because of the murders with the aggravated robbery. And he continued to ask us more about the potential penalties.
Why do you need the death penalty? I could always put in a good word for you. But I mean, you know, you're going to have to help us out here.
All right, look.
Eventually he confessed to the Ross killings, the Desert Inn attempted armored car robbery, the MGM robbery, the Mandalay Bay robbery, the Bellagio robbery.
Okay, the lead guy is Jose Vigoa. That's the lead guy.
Based on Oscar's confession, we learned that Vigoa was the ringleader. He was the one who was organizing everything, deciding which hits to do. His brother-in-law, Pedro Duarte, had been involved in the robberies until the Desert Inn. After that, they brought in another individual, Luis Suarez, and he had taken part in the Ross killing as well. I think Cisneros eventually confessed to us because he truly had remorse about what had happened, not so much with the robberies, but with the killing of the armored car guards.
As Cisneros continues to confess, investigators process the evidence in the bedroom.
They were taking each piece out, cataloging it, making sure that nothing was disturbed as far as fingerprints or DNA type evidence. Toward the end of the search, they'd found what appeared to be pipe bombs in there. They were 4-inch black PVC type pipes with some type of circuit board attached to them.
Investigators confront Cisneros about the bombs, asking if they are real.
And Oscar said, no, not really. Didn't really give us a warm feeling that we could rely on what he was telling us. He said, I'm going to ask you one more time. What are these things? He said, oh, we were just playing around. You don't really have to worry about them. It was that point, because of the vagueness of the answers, that we decided to go ahead and evacuate the house and the surrounding neighbors.
Agents take the evidence and abandon the house, leaving behind the pipe bombs.
We called the bomb squad, and they came in and looked at the devices. They couldn't x-ray them because they were black PVC, and so they made the decision to go ahead and just explode them right there in the bedroom.
Based on Cisneros' confession, investigators arrest Pedro Duarte for being the getaway driver at the Desert Inn.
Pedro Duarte, one for your arrest. Going off this wall.
Investigators move to arrest the final robber, Luis Suarez, but he has fled the state. Ballistics experts test the weapons found at Cisneros' house and match them to bullets and shell casings from the Ross killings and the Desert Inn shooting. Experts also find critical evidence against Vigoa.
We found Vigoa's fingerprint on one of the bullets inside one of the magazines that was in Cisneros' closet.
Prosecutors hold Oscar Cisneros at the Clark County Detention Center and intend to use his testimony at trial against the other robbers.
We felt like it was a pretty tight package. We had Cisneros' confession, we had all the physical evidence for the guns and the money and the clothing that we found in the closet. So we felt like it was coming together very well.
But one event would put the entire case in jeopardy. In Las Vegas, investigators have arrested 3 men connected to a violent robbery group. The leader, Jose Vigoa, his brother-in-law, Pedro Duarte, and Oscar Cisneros, who confessed everything to federal agents and implicated a 4th man, Luis Suarez, in the robberies. But on October 7th, 2000, the case weakens when Cisneros hangs himself in his cell. FBI Special Agent Richard Beasley.
We learned later from the officers who investigated the suicide at the detention center that Vigoa had been sending messages up to Cisneros to do the right thing. I think that Cisneros didn't want to put his family through any more problems, and he just didn't want to deal with it, so he took the easy way out and killed himself.
When Cisneros dies, his confession dies with him, since it would be inadmissible in court. The prosecution team turns to forensic science to tie the other robbers to the crime. DNA evidence from the recovered water bottle and ski masks links Vigoa, Duarte, and Suarez to the crimes. The blood evidence recovered belonged to the now deceased Cisneros. While prosecutors prepare for trial, agents track down the remaining gunman, Luis Suarez, who fled Las Vegas and is hiding in Florida. FBI Special Agent Brett Shields.
We went down to Florida, discredited all his alibis, and then he was ultimately arrested for this crime.
In the fall of 2003, 5 years after their spree of robbery and murder began, Suarez, Duarte, and Vigoa go to trial in Las Vegas. Luis Suarez plea bargains to 1 count of armed robbery and receives a sentence of 6 to 15 years. Pedro Duarte takes his chances at trial and is convicted of 2 counts of attempted murder and other charges. He is sentenced to 16 to 70 years. In order to avoid the death penalty, Jose Vigoa pleads guilty to 2 counts of first-degree murder and 44 other charges. He is sentenced to life in prison without the possibility of parole. It took the combined efforts of 3 law enforcement agencies to bring this vicious gang of robbers to justice.
This case was solved not by the FBI, but by the cooperation between the FBI, Henderson Police Department, and Las Vegas Metropolitan Police Department. It was just a great feeling to be able to wrap up a case like this. Obviously, there were many victims, not just the security officers who were killed, but their families and the people inside the casinos and the people who were traumatized watching these armored car robberies go down and the casino robberies. There's a lot of people really shook up over this, and to take these guys out of the mix was a very good feeling.
And the next time someone threatens the safety of the citizens of Las Vegas, local police and the FBI will be there to stop them.